I felt my life was in danger. Those are the words of AEW President Tony Khan, who has explained his decision to fire CM Punk tonight on AEW Collision, opening up the show in a pre-taped segment. But in addition to that, the AEW President also appeared in front of the live crowd at the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, to explain his decision as to why he terminated the contract of Phil Brooks, better known as CM Punk. We've got footage of Khan talking to the crowd. We've got backstage reaction both in AEW and WWE about the possibility of CM Punk going to WWE, as well as what people think about Khan's decision. Details on this big, developing, breaking news story. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling, and the biggest story right now is Phil Brooks, CM Punk being fired from AEW by Tony Khan. The announcement was made earlier today on social media via a statement from All Elite Wrestling, but tonight we've actually got words from the AEW president himself, because tonight's episode of AEW Collision opened with a pre-recorded statement from Tony Khan addressing the firing of CM Punk. This is what Khan said, and I quote, "Today I had to make one of the toughest decisions of my professional career. Today I terminated Phil Brooks, CM Punk, for cause. This stems from a backstage incident at AEW All In last Sunday. The incident was regrettable and it endangered people backstage. That includes the production staff, the people who help put the show on every week, innocent people who had nothing to do with it. I've been going to wrestling shows for over 30 years. I've been producing them on this network for nearly 4 years. Never in all that time have I ever felt until last Sunday that my security, my safety, my life was in danger at a wrestling show. I don't think anybody should feel that way at work. I don't think the people I work with should feel that way, and I had to make a very difficult choice today. It came at the recommendation of a discipline committee here in AEW, as well as outside legal counsel, who delivered a unanimous recommendation, and I have followed up on that recommendation. I am sorry to any fans who are upset by this. I am sorry to anyone who's upset by this. Despite that, we're going to have a great show tonight at Collision, and we're going to have a great AEW All-Out pay-per-view tomorrow here in Chicago. Last weekend was the greatest weekend in AEW history. This is the greatest week in AEW history. We're going to continue the great momentum here on Collision, and tomorrow night on the All-Out pay-per-view. Now, of course, as I mentioned before, actually the show went on the air. Khan did appear in front of the live audience. We'll get to that in just a second because we've actually got footage of that. But the announcement did come earlier today. In case you missed it, we can get the statement up on the screen once again. You can see it right there. It said, quote, "Today, All Elite Wrestling has terminated the wrestler and employment agreements between Philip Brooks, CM Punk, and AEW with cause effective immediately. The termination was confirmed today by Tony Khan, CEO, General Manager, and Head of Creative of AEW. The termination follows a week-long internal investigation of an incident occurring backstage at AEW All In London on Sunday, August 27. Following the investigation, the AEW Discipline Committee met and later convened with outside legal counsel before making a unanimous decision to Khan that CM Punk be terminated with cause." Tony Khan was quoted as saying, quote, "Phil played an important role within AEW, and I thank him for his contributions. The termination of his AEW contracts with cause is ultimately my decision and mine alone. Of course, I wish I didn't have to share this news, which may come as a disappointment to many of our fans. Nevertheless, I am making the decision in the best interest of the many amazing people who make AEW possible every week, our talent, staff, venue operators, and many others whose efforts are unsung but essential to bringing our great fans shows on television and at arenas and stadiums throughout the world." Now, as I mentioned, actually before AEW Collision going live on the air, Tony Khan appeared in front of the live crowd at AEW Collision tonight. Of course, the catch is that Collision is in Punk's hometown of Chicago, as is tomorrow night's All-Out pay-per-view. Now, Khan decided he'd speak to the live crowd before Collision actually went on the air, and footage of this has been posted on social media. So we've actually got the footage of Tony Khan speaking to the crowd. Here's what he had to say. Here's the reaction to Khan's words about the firing of CM Punk.
Talk to you about it before Collision and All Out this weekend, because I really respect all of you. I'm a wrestling fan like you, and if I were in your shoes, I could totally understand how a lot of you feel one way or the other. But I just want to tell you, I'm out here because I had to do something I did not want to do today. I'm very sorry to fans or anybody who's upset by it. This week we conducted an investigation independent of me. I have a discipline committee in AEW that is independent and it's comprised the majority of lawyers. And I also brought in outside legal counsel. I hired independent lawyers to investigate this and make a recommendation. This is different than anything I've ever been involved in sports or wrestling. It was very tough. When I met them, the unanimous recommendation was the action that I took. The action that I took came as a result of this investigation, but I have to say it stems from an incident backstage last weekend at AEW All in London. I've been going to wrestling shows like you for over 30 years, and the first one I ever went to was with my dad, who's here tonight, downstate in Champaign, Illinois. Thank you, Dad, because without him, none of this would be possible, because he's a hugely unclean that came to AEW, and that's why we're here. And everything I know about business, I learned from him. He's a family businessman. This is a family business. And I care about the people who work here. That's the production staff, that's everybody that works here. The wrestlers, but also people you don't think about every day that make the show happen. I've been going to wrestling shows for over 30 years as a fan, and I've been producing them on TNT here for almost 4 years now. And this was the first time, this incident, that I have ever feared for my safety in a wrestling show, that I have ever feared for my life in a wrestling show.
Shut up, you pussy!
I've been going to wrestling shows for over 30 years as a fan, and I've been producing them on TNT here for almost 4 years now. And this was the first time, this incident, that I have ever feared for my safety in a wrestling show, that I have ever feared for my life in a wrestling show.
Shut up, you pussy!
Backstage, the production staff. I'm sorry, but they don't come here. They don't work here to be put in danger. The people who work on production week to week should not come to work and worry about am I going to get hurt or worse. There should be 50-year-old people with artificial joints worrying, am I going to get hurt for coming to work? So work on AEW every single week. I'm sorry, I can't have that. And I won't have that. And that's why I made a very tough choice. There's no place in the world. This is literally the last place in the world. Literally, the United Center. But I would want to tell you this. But no. And if you want to look. First and foremost, the recommendation was from the committee, but the decision was mine. I'm sorry for anybody who's upset, but I want you to know that I know you're all here tonight because you love professional wrestling. This company is a lot better than professional wrestling, and I know there's wrestlers here that every single one of you care about. They're all going to work very hard to put on a great episode of Collision for you here tonight. They're going to work very hard, I promise, to put a great all-out on for you, because we've been doing all-out here for years. And I want to keep it in Chicago forever. It means a lot. I love this town. I love this state. I love so many people here, including my family and so many of you. I love pro wrestling. I love doing this every week. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm sorry if I disappointed you. It was never my intent, but I did what I had to do for the people that work here. I love you very much. Thank you for being here.
So those Tony Khan's words before Collision went on the air. And now, according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, CM Punk's firing was, quote, heavily discussed backstage at WWE Payback, which at the time of recording this video is ongoing. Now, according to PW Insider as well, the reaction backstage within AEW, as you probably would have assumed, is mixed. According to PW Insider, there are those who are, quote, really down about the news, but also those who feel it was the right thing to do and are even, quote, happy about it. There are also people who said they're just happy that Tony Khan made a decision and that the company can now move forward. Certainly, again, it's a big news story, and Andrew Zarian of the Wrestling Observer reported that Warner Bros. Discovery was informed late last week that the soft roster split between Dynamite and Collision will indeed be ending. This seems quite relevant as the Young Bucks appeared on AEW Collision tonight. Bryan Danielson also appeared on the show as well. Now, for more details on this, we go to Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful Select, who has said, of course, that AEW announced that CM Punk was indeed terminated today, both as a wrestler and an employee too. AEW founder Tony Khan said the decision was one he didn't want to have to make, but he needed to for the safety of the AEW production team. While it was noted that the termination was with cause, thus far, according to Sean Ross Sapp, we do not know if there is a non-compete clause attached or if any severance or a severance period has been discussed either. As a result, we don't know when CM Punk would be eligible for a move to another wrestling company. He still does have major heat with numerous top names within WWE, according to Fightful, and was actually, of course, asked to leave earlier this year when he showed up at a taping of Monday Night Raw in Chicago. There had been no real expectations or plans of Punk heading to WWE, and most people that Fightful spoke to there didn't think he was going to be fired from AEW, so we're now into the territory of a bit of unknown. The AEW roster, including several that were close to Punk, did not know, as of Saturday, that Punk was set to be fired from the company. There was an investigation throughout the week in which saw a disciplinary committee informed of the findings. Again, Fightful don't know who comprised that committee, but Fightful had heard of many people within the company being interviewed. As we just saw, Tony Khan spoke about the situation before AEW Collision to the live crowd in a manner which many had people questioning things. He appeared sitting in a chair, as we saw, and said that many things he could go on to say in a pre-recorded segment at the top of the show. Notably, the outside legal counsel and the disciplinary committee both recommended he terminate CM Punk's contract. Khan said he feared for his safety and life in the situation, which matches up with the word that was that he was in plain sight of the Jack Perry and CM Punk confrontation. There was also word that Punk had lunged at his direction, which could possibly line up with what Tony Khan is hinting at here. Now, of course, when Fightful asked Tony Khan this week about whether or not Punk had a confrontation with Tony earlier on in the day as rumoured, he largely avoided the question and defended the booking. The crowd did boo Tony heavily at the start, but much of the crowd, as you just saw, really did turn by his side by the end of his statement there. Regarding the CM Punk and Miro aspect of this, because this was a story that sort of came out and then got a bit out of hand, and then it turned out just to be sarcasm, tele-wrestler kind of situation. Now, Punk had seemed genuinely confused regarding that story making the rounds. Miro and Punk supposedly spoke about it midweek and had a laugh about the word that they had any issues against each other. Punk and Miro had maintained a good relationship, with Punk pushing for Miro to actually be on Collision when he was kind of running that show, as it were. Punk had expressed unhappiness verbally numerous times, from the all-out post-show scrum to saying, quote, "I hate this place," ahead of Collision's debut, and even after his fight with Jack Perry. Punk had been slated to be in the main event of All Out in a strap match with Ricky Starks. Of course, that was adjusted to Bryan Danielson in a huge surprise that was kept very secret within the company up until just before the show went on the air. Pro Wrestling Torch reported that AEW was confident that their alternative plan would work out really well, and it would appear that Bryan Danielson is a very strong alternative to Punk. Now, Fightful have heard that there were also ongoing discussions between AEW and Warner Bros. Discovery about the on-screen direction of AEW Collision. Security reportedly was confiscating CM Punk signs ahead of the show, which was to be expected, one would think. Up until the end, Fightful had heard of no real progress on Punk working with the Elite, though he'd claimed to Fightful and others backstage that he still wanted to get into a room and talk with them and make something work. Now, Fightful do say they've reached out to CM Punk, but haven't heard back and haven't heard of him reaching out to any others as of right now. Jack Perry, the other person involved in this incident, is not slated for any Chicago week shows, but Perry has not been been fired or informed of a firing, at least as of Punk's firing right now. And of course, this is pro wrestling, so for those asking if this is indeed a work, the numerous AEW sources that they've spoken to claim it is not a work. AEW hasn't commented on that specific question in an official capacity, but it's highly unlikely this is a work of any kind. Now, one interesting tidbit to kind of finish off on when it does come to all of this is actually a meeting that was scheduled between CM Punk and the Elite prior to AEW All In last week. It's incredible that actually this could have gone in a very different direction to the direction that it ended up taking. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, CM Punk was terminated by All Elite Wrestling today following this internal investigation into that incident between himself and Jack Perry last weekend. His termination from the company comes just a few days before the one-year anniversary of his infamous AEW All Out media scrum, where he denied rumors he held Colt Cabana back in AEW and took aim at the Elite, who he perceived as not capable of leading the company. Following the scrum, of course, infamously, Punk, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and others were involved in a locker room brawl that resulted in those holding titles being stripped of them and all included being taken off of television. In the months since, tensions between the Elite's camp and CM Punk's have remained frosty at best. While Punk has been open reportedly to clearing the air, he has been told by lawyers that no communication is welcome. Now, according to Nick Hausman of House of Wrestling, they have learned and reported that a sit-down with the relevant members of the Elite, CM Punk and Tony Khan, reportedly, according to Nick Hausman, was scheduled to take place last week ahead of AEW All In London, but reportedly was called off at the last minute by the Elite's camp. From what House of Wrestling and Nick Hausman understand, it was going to take place in Atlanta, and Tony Khan indeed would have been present. Now, the summit was intended to bury the hatchet between both sides ahead of the big historic AEW pay-per-view, and the cancellation of it appears to have added to Punk's overall frustrations with the situation heading into the event. So, what are your thoughts on all of this? What are your thoughts on Tony Khan's statement at the beginning of Collision? What are your thoughts on Tony Khan's words to the live crowd, the footage that we just saw? What are your thoughts on CM Punk's frustration with the Elite reportedly cancelling a sit-down interview that could have cleared the air? And what are your just thoughts on all of this? Let me know your reaction to it all in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Once again, guys, apologies. Those that were watching the Payback live stream, we've been having so many internet troubles today. Hopefully, we can get this video uploaded at some point. So we're going to be working on it. If indeed the internet's back up and running, we are going to be doing an all-out watch-along and post-show tomorrow. But you never know how it's going to go. Anyway, guys, I'll speak for you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.